Welcome to Nightmare Echoes. Listen, scream, and embrace your horror obsession. I'm your host, Eleazar, and today Steven is here to revisit one of my childhood favorites, The Monster Squad. How does this movie update our favorite Universal monsters? What exactly was Van Helsing's plan? And which character ended up being our favorite? If you dare follow us, all links are in the description. Next week on the podcast, Oculus. But until then, a movie that teaches us one important lesson. Kick-ass kids can solve anything. Hello everybody, welcome back to Nightmare Echoes. I'm your host Eleazar. I'm joined again by co-host Steven. Steven, how's it going?
Hey, it's going well. Thanks for having me on again today.
Yeah, so today we're covering The Monster Squad. I thought it was a fun way to wrap up. We covered a lot of Universal movies, or like later takes on Universal movies. Like we had The Invisible Man, the Lee Winnell version. We did The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. We did... What else did we do?
Victor Frankenstein.
We did Victor Frankenstein. Oh, and we did the Last Voyage of the Demeter for Dracula. So we've been covering a lot of different monsters, and I thought this would be a fun way to wrap it all up. Kind of put them all into one movie. Fun movie. The Monster Squad came out in 1987. It's only 82 minutes long. It was co-written and directed by Fred Derrick, who also worked on Night of the Creeps and co-wrote RoboCop 3. Shane Black was the co-writer. He wrote Lethal Weapon, The Last Boy Scout, Predator. And we'll go through the people that act in it as we go along. It had a budget of anywhere from 12 to 14 million, but only grossed 3.8 million in the box office. So it didn't do too well, although I think it's a classic now. I think it definitely has a fan base of people that just freaking love this movie. I think it's fun. It's a fun one to show my kids.
I was wondering, did you watch this in the theater?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think I watched it on TV.
We were pretty young.
Yeah, but it is a movie really for kids, although there's a few parts that seem like a little too adult for this movie.
Yeah.
Especially with the parents. But I liked it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Did you watch it when you were a kid?
Yeah, definitely.
When it was on the TV?
I remember, I'm sure I watched it on TV. It aired on TV. I found it really fun. It was fun to be a kid watching this movie. There's a few movies that are like that. Like The Lost Boys is like that. Goonies is like that. Gremlins is like that.
Yeah.
You know, fun. Like, it's cool to be a kid in this monster movie. I think it's awesome. So I kind of feel that same way about this one.
So I was really sheltered as a kid. And this is the first time I've seen this.
Oh,
and,
really?
You know, I was like early elementary school when this came out, I guess. So even in elementary school, when they would show a movie, like I think they showed, The Princess Bride and maybe E.T. or something. It was like they were so foreign to me because I got to watch only a handful of things at home.
Right.
My grandma, who was influential and raised me a lot as a kid, had a few things. So I remember watching a lot of like 1940s movies because his grandparents.
Sure, yeah.
And so for me, the movie that this lined up with from my childhood was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
That's a funny one.
I've watched that thing probably 100 times now. I even have it at home for, I guess, nostalgia purposes. But yeah, in that movie they had Dracula and Bela Lugosi. And it had, I think Boris Karloff was the Frankenstein. And then they had a Wolfman monster in there too. But it's cool to see these kind of movies where they bring in multiple Universal monsters all in one show.
Yeah, I think they're fun. And I'm interested to see how you took it, because I know I'm nostalgic for it. Like, this movie I loved as a kid. The special features I love. I didn't have time to visit them all before watching this, but I love the commentary. They brought in Sean's actor, Phoebe's actor, and Rudy's actor, as well as the director and writer, which I think was a lot of fun to hear what their takes on it and what they remember about making the movie, which I think was fun.
Yeah.
But the movie opens with red text over a black screen saying 100 years before the story begins, it was a time of darkness in Transylvania, a time when Dr. Abraham Van Helsing and a small band of freedom fighters conspired to rid the world of vampires and monsters and to save mankind from the forces of evil. They blew it. And then,
I love that for our opening scene.
Yeah, I know. So the movie shows us Dracula's lair with many coffins, Although Dracula isn't sleeping in his coffin, he's sleeping upside down in the form of a bat before he transforms into a more humanoid figure, magically already wearing his outfit. We see Van Helsing and his men blast through the front door, and they encounter a blonde vampire feeding on a rat. Van Helsing shoots her through the heart, and they find the amulet, which is shining brilliantly with magical power. He calls for the girl, and a young girl is brought in who starts reading in German. As evil starts to arise, Van Helsing warns her that if she doesn't read, they're all going to die. She reads, which opens a big wormhole in the sky, which instantly sucks her in, which makes me think this was a bad plan. I don't think that's what they thought was going to happen. Everything in the room starts to get sucked in. Van Helsing struggles to hold on to something when the screen cuts to black.
Now, before this, they played around a little bit with cinematic art, and I think they had shot like a graveyard, from what I remember. And I like that opening shot. There's like a Grim Reaper death statue in the graveyard. And I think in the 21st century, we've kind of been desynthesized. And life and ominous death is not as dramatic, or death is not as feared as much.
Sure.
As it used to be.
So the movie cuts to what we call present day, and we watch as the children leave an elementary school. We see sitting in the principal's office is Sean, played by Andrew Gower, wearing a Stephen King Rules t-shirt. He's sitting next to his friend Patrick, played by Robbie Keeger, who was also in Children of the Corn. The principal goes over their school records, where they have a collection of drawings of monsters, which he doesn't understand. They both explain to him that they use the drawings to decorate their walls of their clubhouse, where they have a monster club. He's annoyed because they draw those pictures when they should be paying attention to science class. Patrick explains that Miss Carlson is boring and has an odd-shaped head, which is why Sean and the others call her Meow Mix, adding that he would never call her that. And with friends like that, who needs enemies? Like, he just throws his friend under the bus. The principal tries to relate to them in a way that he feels the kids talk these days, and tells them that he digs science because science is cool. He then tells them the real issue is that science is real and monsters are not, and Sean says, "Oh, we don't know that, sir," which I think is great. Because how can you prove they're not real, sir? Does science prove monsters aren't real? They leave the office complaining about how much the principal is touching them. Sean, who's not looking where he's going, brings up people with cat heads when he runs right into Mrs. Carlson, and I have to say the movie did a really good job with her makeup and her hair to make her really look like a cat. They don't get very far down the hall before they resume talking about her. We hear them ask, "Where's Fat Kid?" And we cut to their friend Horace outside walking and eating a candy bar. Horace, I will call him Horace in this movie. I'm not going to call him Fat Kid the whole time. This one thing this movie does.
He said, "My name is Horace" later.
Yeah, yeah.
He makes a point. Like,
right.
Don't call me Fat Kid. But
right.
They call him Fat
and
Kid.
There's a couple of characters that aren't even named in this movie. One is creepy German guy. They never give him a real name.
Yeah.
And one is Patrick's sister.
A scary German guy.
Yeah, very good.
And Patrick's sister.
Right. So I will call them by their actors' names when we get to them.
Okay.
Right. So that we have a name to call them.
I'm going to call him Scary German Guy.
I don't want you to do that. So Horace is played by Brent Chalem, who sadly died of pneumonia in 1997. Up comes EJ, acting like a failed news reporter who seems to be bullying Horace. EJ is played by Jason Harvey, who I know from Back to the Future, The Wonder Years, and Pee-wee's Big Adventure. He is joined by Derek, played by Adam Carl, who was the voice of Donatello in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Derek also bullies Horace. EJ knocks Horace's Snickers bar to the floor and stomps on it with his foot. Horace says that he's fat, but at least he isn't stupid, and EJ is ready to fight. EJ then takes his comic book and rips it in half, saying, "Oh, I must be stupid." Horace calls him an asshole, so EJ pushes him down and jumps on top of him, slapping him repeatedly. The crowd gathers ready to watch the fight, and everyone gets quiet as the bike skids to a stop. EJ stops and turns to watch someone light a match with the bottom of their shoe and bring it up to a cigarette to light it. This is the entrance of Rudy, who is an 8th grader and was the definition of cool in the 80s.
I was going to say, he's seen as a cool kid in the 80s.
Yeah.
On a bike, smoking a cigarette. I don't think that would fly these days.
No.
Like,
right.
Now, the other thing I noticed was, like, this bullying, I experienced this. A lot of kids experienced
Sure.
this when we were kids, in the 80s and early 90s. This was sort of just what happened on the playground. When I go with my kids to their school and volunteer, I never see this. These kids are so nice to each other now.
It seems like a foreign concept to my kids, too.
Yeah.
Although, I say that, but some bad things have happened in my kids' middle school.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, I've seen this next generation behave a lot better than we did.
I agree with you. Yeah, so Rudy is played by Ryan Lambert, who I know from Kids Incorporated, which is definitely a fun show I liked as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
EJ says, "Hey, Rudy," and you can tell that he's scared. Rudy says, "I see you met my friend Horace." EJ tries to speak, but he keeps shushing him and asks Horace if he's okay. He's crying, but he says he is. Rudy then tells EJ, "You dropped your candy bar." And EJ tries to say it belongs to Horace, but Rudy tells him that it's his now and he needs to eat up. EJ tries to argue, but Rudy assures him that if he eats it up, we'll call it a day. So the whole class watches as EJ takes a big bite, and half of them are saying ooh, and the other half are laughing.
He was like grinding it in with
his sneaker, right? Yeah. On their way home, Patrick and Sean argue over whether the Wolfman could drive a car. Sean argues that he could not, adding that he couldn't work or get a job. Patrick says that he stands upright and wears pants, but Sean said he had to wear pants because it was made in the 40s, and if he didn't, you would see his wolf dork. Sean's little sister Phoebe is following, but runs ahead to look at the house of the character, which they call Scary German Guy. Phoebe is played by Ashley Blank, and Scary German Guy is played by Leo Chimino, who was in Dune, Hudson Hawk, and Waterworld. And because I can't spend the podcast calling someone Scary German Guy, I will refer to him in this episode as Leo.
Leo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to still call him Scary German
I'm
Guy.
going to hit you. Patrick thinks there's some bullying about to happen here. Patrick thinks that maybe Leo's a spy, and Sean says they aren't at war with Germany anymore. Phoebe says they're at war with Vietnam since it was in Rambo. Horace runs up to tell them what happened with Rudy and asks if Rudy could be in the club. So they huddle, and Phoebe says that she heard Rudy killed his own dad, which is funny because the little girl heard this rumor. Must be in her circles. Unfortunately, Horace picks on her, which sends her off sad. The three boys all agree that they're going to give Rudy the monster test. We see Phoebe went back to Leo's, and he looks out the window. She screams, running to catch up with the group. We cut to a B-25 Mitchell World War II bomber plane, which even has a sexy pinup girl on the side, which belongs to Browning Cargo. The two pilots are played by David Horval and Daryl Anderson. David Horval I know from Shawshank Redemption and The Phantom. David wishes he was flying planes for people, but Daryl points out that the cargo never complains. They never ask for those extra peanuts. And he says he's right. This is a great job. And that's when something makes some big noise at the back, and they were confused because they thought their cargo was dead, and so David goes to check it out.
Wait, dead cargo?
Right.
Yeah, they're just... Interestingly enough, I was thinking this airplane, because we'll see what the cargo is here in a moment, but I was thinking this airplane's the Demeter. Because it's transporting Dracula.
You're right. Yeah, he goes back there and is punched in the face by Dracula. David thinks he has the advantage when he pulls the lever to drop the cargo where Dracula is standing, though Dracula just hovers there, turns into a bat before flying out of the plane.
Nice.
We watch as the cargo lands in the water in the middle of the wooded area, and the cargo says Frankenstein. So, was it shipped from a place called Frankenstein? Did they not suspect that Frankenstein's monster could be in here?
It was just owned by a guy named Frankenstein.
That's what it is.
Yeah, Dr. Frankenstein.
We cut to the treehouse where Horace asks for 2 ways to kill a vampire, and Rudy says stake through the heart and sunlight. Rudy's looking through the window with binoculars, and we see that from his vantage point, he can look right into Patrick's sister's window, who seems to be checking out her own body in a mirror because she's just modeling there with a bra and panties on. She's played by Lisa Fuller, and is just credited as Patrick's sister in the movie, so I will spend this episode calling her Lisa. Eugene is also there in the clubhouse. He's the second youngest after Phoebe, who may not be an official member, but he definitely plays a vital role in the film. They both do. Eugene is played by Michael Fasto, who was also in Blank Check and Suburban Commando. And Pete is the name of the dog. Phoebe knocks on the door. When Sean opens it, you can see a sign that says no girls. Phoebe says that their mom says they have to let her in or it's prescription. Sean tells her that she means discrimination because prescription is drugs, which she is on if she thinks she's getting in there. And Sean, the guy that played him, said that was the hardest line to deliver. It was like a tongue twister. Prescription is drugs. After an easy Frankenstein question, they move on to asking 2 ways to kill a werewolf. He comes up with silver bullet, and they act like they've stumped him, but they also can't think of another way to kill a werewolf. When Sean's mom calls him for dinner, he uses the excuse to not have to answer, and Rudy is left there asking if he's in the club or not.
That's pretty cool. I mean, this is the cool guy.
Right.
And he's joining their monster club. I'm starting to like Rudy as a character.
I do too. I know people have been like, well, if he's so cool, why is he hanging out with elementary school kids? It's like, whatever, man. He's cool.
They're kind of like younger middle schoolers. He's an 8th grader.
Everybody here is like an outclass kind of character. Yeah. We'll all come together to save the day. I love it.
Motley Crue kind of.
At dinner, we meet his mother, Emily, who's played by Mary Ellen Trainor, who I know from the Goonies, Die Hard, and Lethal Weapon franchise. In the most shocking thing ever, Sean grabs a carrot to snack on, but Emily gets after him. My mom would have loved if I came inside and tried to eat veggies. But she's like, no, go wash up. Sean notices a book, and Emily tells him that she got it from Jane Burgess's garage sale. Sean freaks out because the book is written by Van Helsing. Emily thinks that is who fought Godzilla, and he corrects her that he fought Dracula. She asks who's the really tall one then, and he says, that's Godzilla. His celebration ends when he realizes the book is written in German.
It's in German. Apparently he can't read German. I mean, what's his deal?
These kids these days, I tell you. It's nighttime, and we see a 1961 Cadillac funeral coach with a skull ornament on the hood pull up, and Dracula steps out.
Nice. He says, let it begin.
Yeah. We see Sean meet with his father, who is shaving. His father, Dell, is played by Stephen Mach, who was in Graveyard Shift and Amityville 1992, It's About Time. Sean tells Dell that he wants to go see Groundhog Day 12 with his friends, which in this universe is a slasher movie franchise that has gone on way too long. This was years before Bill Murray's Groundhog Day came out. They were just referencing that there's a lot of horror movies named after holidays, and it would be fun to name one after Groundhog Day.
And this is the 12th in the franchise.
Right, exactly. Adele tells him that Emily and him are going out to a date, which means Sean must watch his 5-year-old sister. But he's a cool dad, at least I think, and he's adding that he'll take him to see the movie tomorrow night. Sean says it'll be too late, that by then everyone will have ruined the whole plot, which I say about movies these days, as YouTube will already have the content explaining the ending with a thumbnail that's a big spoiler 3 hours after the movie comes out. Dell says that he thought they killed the guy with the axe in the last one. Sean says that he always returns to the grave. Dell says if they blew him up, put his head in a blender, and mailed the pieces to Norway, he would still return from the grave. And Sean comically reports that was part 7. Dell does tell him that their date is to a marriage counselor, and I can't tell if he's joking or not. But later parts of the film, you find out that's probably serious.
Yeah.
Their marriage is in trouble.
They're arguing and such later.
Yeah. That's when the phone rings, and his partner, Detective Rich Sapir.
I didn't catch his name, so.
Well, he's like a lieutenant detective, which I had to look up. Is a thing in small towns. He's played by Stan Shaw, who was in Cutthroat Island, Jeepers Creepers 3, Daylight, and Sun Rising. At the police station, you can hear a guy desperately demanding if the police officers lock him up because he's a werewolf. As Dell grabs his jacket to leave, he asks Emily if she can reschedule because he has to go downtown. He tells her that this is important, and she says that so is she.
She doesn't look happy about this at all.
I know, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's hard.
What's your take on this? You feel like he needs to go do his job.
He's the only one he has a job in this house. She runs the house, and that's important. But he, later in an argument, says he could quit, and they could just spend all their time together, but then the house would go into foreclosure because they wouldn't be able to pay the bills.
Right.
Like, he has to work.
I struggle with this, too.
Yeah.
So both my wife and I are trying to work and then take care of kids and houses.
Yeah. And I do get it's a struggle, but it's a blessing to have good communication in marriage. I feel like my wife and I have good communication.
That's a good point.
She understands that I got to work to make money. She would actually loves it when I pull overtime because it helps us pay the bills.
And
right.
You know, everybody needs something out of the relationship. And as long as you're communicating, like you point out, I think that's the main thing.
And I love that she lets me do the stupid podcast because she knows that I'm working hard and this is my hobby on the side.
Yeah.
Which is fun. My wife's amazing. All right. So he tells her that when he met her, she knew he was a cop and she bought the whole package.
Which makes sense. That would be something that I would tell
Right.
my wife if I was in that situation.
Right.
It's like, you know who the person is when you get into the relationship. You shouldn't expect that they're going to change.
Right.
Yeah.
So we cut to the station with a guy begging for them to lock him up, even just for one night. There are 3 officers trying to hold him down, and they're going to cuff him. He sees the full moon, which seems to mean it's too late. He gets strength. He fights them off with ease, throwing one across the room through glass. He takes one of the officers, Smith & Wesson Model 15, fired it into the ceiling, yelling, "Lock me up." Now, he's not firing at anybody. He's firing at the ceiling.
So I thought this was odd. Like, he's saying lock me up, but then he's throwing them away from him so they can't
Because I think it's the
cuff him
werewolf
and
trying
lock
to
him
fight
up.
him.
Oh,
Because
so it's
the moon
he's
is
transitioning.
Yeah,
So
I think
it's
so.
showing like that he's got both of these sort of
Right.
personalities
So
coming out.
one of the officers then puts 3 rounds into his chest.
Yeah.
So both detectives, Dell and Rich, are at the local museum investigating a case where 2,000-year-old mummies disappeared. The security guard Olson claims that no one came in because he would have heard them, and Rich jokes that this case is too hard and they should become firemen.
And in perfect comedic timing, Dell says, "Dead guys don't get up and move themselves."
Right, and then we cut to
And
the
the
mummy
is
walking,
moving outside.
walking outside. He's passed by a 1975 Ford Ecoline, which is transporting the body of the man that was just shot at the police station. The driver is unaware when the man gets out of the body bag transformed into the werewolf until he's grabbed by the face. We cut to Sean, who's sitting on the roof using the binoculars to watch the movie. Dell shows up on the roof and he's brought Burger King to share. Sean tells his dad that this is the best part, which only makes sense if he's now watching it for the 2nd time in a row. But since he lives within viewing distance from his roof, he could have been watching it all night long. Right?
That is cool. Yeah, I would love to have a house where you could just like sit up on the roof and watch a movie.
I love when my
at a
dad brings
drive-in.
me random food. He just brought home garlic knots. I was like, yeah, where'd this come from? This is great. Best thing ever.
The werewolf reanimates, but
Mm-hmm.
of course they didn't shoot him with silver bullet.
At the site of the crash, cops are taking away the body of the driver. Rich is there, and on the end of the radio, he's reporting that the cadaver's missing, and the dispatch is laughing because this is the 2nd body missing that night. And then we cut to the Wolfman walking through the woods where he meets up with Dracula and the mummy. Dracula points his cane with a wolf on it into the water, starts raising a crate, though when it gets to the surface, we see that this creature that is credited as Gilman who actually brought him out. I always
That
thought
was
this
cool.
was... Growing up, I thought this was Creature from the Black Lagoon, but it's not. It's
Gilman. Yeah.
Right. Dracula opens the crate, reveals that he's carrying Frankenstein's monster, saying it's been so long. He calls him friend. He pulls 2 wires out of the ears of the wolf on his cane and attach it to Frankenstein's monster like electric prongs. Summons lightning to wake up his friend. Frankenstein's monster wakes up and says, "Long time, master."
And Dracula said, "It is our time." So he's got these weird little one-liner things, like
Yeah.
"Let us begin." It
I
is
think
our
he's
time.
a
It's
good
like,
actor to
it's
play
going-
Dracula.
Oh yeah, he's
He's-
very serious.
He sells his evilness well.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my mom dressed me up as Dracula one year for Halloween, and I remember we did the white face thing because he has like white makeup on his face, and then the red and black cape. It's a good look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure I dressed up as a vampire one year as well. Emily lights a candle for Phoebe, who's going to bed, telling her that it will protect her. She tells her mom that Sean says that when there's lightning, monsters come. She replies that Sean just said that to scare her, though we know different because lightning was there because of the monsters. As Emily is leaving, Phoebe asks if she's going to go yell at him, and it's clear she's talking about Sean. But Emily says, "Sweetie, I love your father."
And she was thinking about Dale.
Yeah, because they're arguing all the time. We cut to Sean, who's watching from the kitchen as his parents fight in the living room. Dell is telling Emily about the mummy missing and the guy claiming to be a werewolf who was shot. Sean takes interest in a contact his mother has on the whiteboard named Alvacard.
Now, I had to stop the movie at this point because I noticed something weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I paused it and looked. It says, "Mr. Alucard interested in Van Halen diary." It's like Van Halen.
They wrote it wrong. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny. It was a joke by the director. It's like the mom wouldn't understand the difference. So he gets a notebook out and starts unscrambling the words to see that it spells Dracula. We cut to Eugene, who's telling his dad that there's a monster in this closet. And in this scene, plays out funny, the dad bursts in the room yelling at all these imaginary monsters to get out. He's telling them to take a hike. He asks Eugene if he sees any more, and he points to the closet. The dad opens the door but doesn't look inside, saying, "Oh, look at that big, scary monster."
The mummy's in the closet, and then it closes before the dad even looks. Great.
Eugene is just so terrified. And then after the dad leaves, the mummy escapes from the window. Interestingly, the actor that plays the dad is the guy in the first Die Hard movie that tells Bruce Willis to walk around without shoes and make fists with your toes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I do like Eugene's PJs. He has Robotech PJs on.
Right.
And I didn't watch Robotech when I was younger or as a kid. I did watch it when I was in college, and I'm a huge fan. So
yeah,
those PJs
it's kind of cool.
great.
Yeah, he's got like Ninja Turtle stuff on his walls and other cool things,
cultural
in the
things
yeah.
from the 80s and 90s.
So Sean has the group up in the treehouse, and they are now Monster Squad. He catches up on all the events of the werewolf, which he just overheard his parents arguing about. Sean tells them that a mummy disappeared from the museum, and Eugene tells them the mummy came in his house, but unfortunately no one believes him.
Now, wait a minute. How did he get the group together in the middle of the night
So
in the clubhouse?
There's
and
a
then
deleted
how
scene.
did the dog get up there?
Again, there's a deleted scene.
Okay.
Great answers. So there's a deleted scene where after the mummy left through the window, one head, then another head, and then three heads pops up, which are Sean, Patrick, and Horace, who are all like, "Hey, Eugene, let's come to the clubhouse."
Oh, they deleted the
Right.
The director decided?
Yeah, they said it would just work better for
Okay.
flow. Like, it was just like too much, right? They needed to cut some time out. And then now the scene doesn't exist on the DVD, but the director talks about how they did film a scene where the dog is being pulled up with a pulley system and like an elevator that they make for the dog to get up there. But they didn't keep it in the movie. And I don't know where the footage is. So Sean tells them that Dracula might be there because Van Helsing's book, but adds that it's in German. Patrick adds that his sister takes German, but Horace says that she doesn't learn. She's just there to let the guys in her class touch her breast. Rudy makes a joke about seeing if his sister lives next door, and Sean says, "So what?" And Rudy realizes that he's been staring into the window of Patrick's sister. Sean asks if they all agree to be Monster Squad, and they all put their hands in a pile, including Rudy. So does the dog Pete. Then Rudy asks what the audience is totally asking: how did the dog get up here anyway? At Dracula's lair, we see that he moves the arm of a statue to open a secret passage where Frankenstein's monster's cell is. The kids call him Frankie in this movie, even though they asked the question earlier, is Frankenstein the creator or the monster? And they're like, the creator. But they still call him Frankenstein, even though they know that's not his name. They do call him Frankie for short, so I'm going to spend the rest of the movie calling him Frankie. It's easier than calling him Frankenstein's monster.
Frankie.
Yeah. But Dracula says he needs to sleep and tells Frankie that Van Helsing's diary is missing and he needs to get it back from the children, even if it means killing them. We cut to Sean, Patrick, and Horace in front of Leo's house, afraid to go in. As they debate if he speaks English, Patrick asks, "What's German for? Please don't murder us."
And then he shows up behind them and says the German for
Bieten Morden sehen uns nicht. Well, that's my best attempt. And we find out that Leo walks up and tells them. He's so happy with a smile. Then we see Phoebe sitting under the treehouse near the water because they have this amazing backyard that's by the river or by the lake when Frankie walks up.
Now, I like this scene because it reminded me of the scene from my favorite Frankenstein movie, which is 1931 Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes up to a child on the banks of a river. So it's like a good parallel. And I like Frankie's interaction with Phoebe. He's just kind of this gentle giant.
Right, yeah.
This little girl.
We cut back to Leo, who's holding a massive knife, saying, "Boys, time is almost up," before bringing the knife down on a pie and offering them one more piece. Of course, Horace takes an extra piece, happy to have more pie. And he goes on translating about the amulet, showing them a picture that's in the book.
I like how he's this nice guy. They were all scared of him.
I know,
and
right?
they find out he's this really nice guy.
Horace says that he's bitching, and Leo smiles at that because he loves that compliment. He tells them that every 100 years, good and evil come into balance, and the amulets can ward off evil, adding that it is indestructible. Though he adds that once every 100 years, the amulet becomes vulnerable, and in that moment can be shattered, which would lead to evil ruling. He reads on to say that Van Helsing said that they were on their way to stop the forces of darkness that possess the amulet, and it has a chance every 100 years at midnight, and they were on their way to the ceremony when that's the last thing he wrote in the book, that they were going to try to
100 years ago
open it.
by tomorrow night.
Yeah, he
so
tells them that.
basically, like, it's...
So they know they have today and tomorrow to make it happen.
Yeah.
As they were leaving, the boys all had a really good time. He tells them that they probably thought he was a monster like a vampire, but then says if he was a vampire, he wouldn't have had a reflection, though I would point out that they first met him standing in the sunlight, so he's probably not a vampire. Horace tells them that he sure knows a lot about vampires, and he supposes that he does. Oh, yeah, about monsters. And he says he supposes he does. While shutting the door, see a Nazi tattoo on him, which is A47219.
In a concentration camp.
Auschwitz.
Yeah. So...
That's the A. I think the A is for Auschwitz.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but it's clear like he was a prisoner in a concentration camp, so obviously he knows
about monsters.
Which
some people were like, why does that need to be in there? It's a fantasy movie. I think it's great.
Great. Yeah, and maybe it's a 21st century take on this, but I thought that they needed to point out that, you know, not all German guys are scary, if you will.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Calling him Leo.
Right.
So, like, you know, he's been through some rough times himself.
Right. They're walking, going over the plan, find the amulet, find a virgin, then wait until midnight and perform the ritual. They go to talk to Rudy, who's just gotten his order of burgers and fries. He starts to drink his Pepsi when all three walk in, and Sean asks him if he knows any virgins, and Rudy spits out his drink. We cut to them crossing a down tree to the treehouse. Sean's giving orders. Rudy needs to find silver bullets. Horace needs to find Shadowbrook Road.
They use the word dweeb in here. I hadn't heard that word in like years.
Yeah, a long time, right? Yeah.
And I thought it was funny, like, he needs to find silver bullets at the Kmart?
He's like, where do I find those? Kmart? Yeah, exactly. Phoebe comes over and Sean doesn't want to listen, so she bites him, telling him to look. All four boys look over to see Frankie walking over, and the camera turns back on them as they're all running to hide. Horace putting himself in a trash can. The actor that played Rudy was like, I should have been hiding. I was braver than that. There's no way I would have been hiding, which is funny. They look back to see Phoebe is holding his hand. She tells him that he's a friend and for them not to be chicken shit. And the actress that plays Phoebe, Ashley, said that she remembers that was her first curse word ever and she was afraid to say it, but her mom was encouraging, like, no, sweetie, it's fine. It's for the movie. Go ahead and say it. It was the first time she ever cussed in her life.
She's like, can I be in Monster Club now?
Yeah, that's great. That's a good line. It is. Sean is the only one willing to walk up to him and asking if he's dead. Frankie just repeats the word. Sean pushes him to see if he's real, and while Sean is telling everyone that this is great, Frankie pushes him back and sends him to the ground. We cut to them all sitting in the club. Eugene has joined as well. The boys,
and Frankie.
Yeah.
Frankie's in the clubhouse.
The boys aren't sure what to do with Frankie, and they start going over some vocabulary, which we find out that Phoebe taught him, like bogus and give me a break. The boys don't want to turn him in because they think people will dissect him or put him on TV. Frankie is looking over to where Lisa is undressing in front of a window, and he accidentally takes a picture, but he's scared by the camera and says bogus.
So is this girl just always like dressing
She's by her window, right? Like no one could be looking here. And I think she's checking out her body in a mirror that's right next to the window. Up.
She's, teenage or whatever.
Yeah. Rudy hands him a mask of Frankenstein's monster, which upsets him, and he asks the group if he's scary, and he looks really sad. It's nighttime when Dracula and the Wolfman are looking for the amulet. Dracula senses where it's at and destroys a wall to see it glowing, and is surrounded by a lot of crosses and garlic. But if that garlic has been there for 100 years, like...
I guess it's just dried. It's shriveled.
Maybe.
It
didn't look shriveled. I don't know. It's magic. Dracula vows that evil will soon rule the world and there's nothing to stop them. which cues one of my favorite parts of the movie, montage scene, where it's the next morning, Sean wakes up to an alarm, the music starts playing Rockin' Till You Drop by Michael Sembello. He speedily gets dressed, and this is the montage where they all work to get everything they need. We see Rudy in shop class building a structure he's supposed to. When the teacher leaves, we see that he's sharpening stakes.
Wow. He's making wooden stakes in shop class at school.
Awesome. Phoebe and Frankie are playing dress up. Eugene is writing with a crayon, "Dear Army guys, come quick, there are monsters, Eugene." And he spelled everything wrong. He gets Petey to lick the letter.
I was just thinking, like, this seems efficient.
Yeah.
Mailing the U.S. Post letter to the Army.
And they have till tomorrow to get there? Yeah, right. Patrick is making business cards that read "The Monster Squad." Back to Rudy, who's now in chemistry class, melting silver and making them into bullets, which he's hiding in his cigarette pack. We cut to Sean's mom, Emily, who is opening her special silverware container to see there's only 3 forks left. Sean and Patrick study the map to know where to go. Rudy sneaks into archery class and sneaks off with a bow, quiver, and many arrows. Then Rudy comes out of Fox Photo with 1 hour printing and again spits out his Pepsi when he sees the photo that Frankie took. We cut to Frankie, who's looking at the photo, wearing Rudy's shades.
All the boys want to look at this photo.
Yeah, they're all jumping up to try to look at the picture of the new girl. I would think Patrick's just trying to hide it or destroy it because it's his sister.
Yeah.
And Phoebe's dancing around because she just thinks they're dancing and doesn't know what's going on. Eugene is sitting there with his dog just on the side because he doesn't care. The music ends. We cut to Dracula, who has the human, that is the Wolfman, tied to a chair and drugged. He tells him he's going to leave him there until he changes to something more comfortable, and he's going to go to have a bite. He goes and unlocks a closet, which has 3 women in there. We cut to the human Wolfman, who spits out the pills and starts to get out of the ropes. At the police station, we see there's a construction crew rebuilding all the destroyed walls and windows. Rich comes in to tell Dell that a witness reported that a long black hearse with no plates was at the scene of the ambulance crash and had a hood ornament of a silver skull. Dell gets a phone call, and it's the human Wolfman, who tells him that the people are down in the mansion on Shadowbrook Road because he's found the amulet. Dell asks who he is, and he tells him he's the one they shot last night, so Dell wants to hang up. He tells Dell, "Don't hang up, he's going to kill your son," and then we see that he's turned into the Wolfman. Sean has Eugene on his bike with him, and Horace and Frankie are following. Sean radios Patrick, who's with Rudy, spying on Lisa. She looks like she's on a date with somebody. Eugene is fighting off Pete, who is trying to steal his food, which falls into the water. Eugene tries to grab it when Gilman comes up. Eugene struggles to get Sean's attention, and when he does, he tells him, "Creature stole my Twinkie."
Does Gilman like Twinkies?
I don't know, maybe. But he's very ineffective. Of all the villains, he's like, "Boo," and then he goes away. Maybe he was happy with the Twinkie. He just swam away.
It. You know, I used to keep a Twinkie in a glove box in my car. Yeah, it's an emergency Twinkie, okay. I called it, in case I was hungry.
That can't be good for it. In Texas
heat.
Hey,
when you're like really
in
hungry,
Texas heat?
Oh my gosh. It lasted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it lasted in the heat. They're Twinkies.
Somehow they convince Lisa into the treehouse. Rudy tells Patrick that it's his show, and Patrick struggles to ask the sister if she's a virgin. Rudy gives it a try, saying that he's also curious for his own sake and wants to ask if she's ever been dorked. She calls them sick, but he pulls out a photo of her, saying Fox Photo has a 2-for-1 special, and there's a space between the prom committee notes and the football roster. Though this movie was made before Blu-rays, and they would never expect someone to go frame by frame. If you look at the picture, it's a girl fully clothed wearing a black shirt. It looks nothing like her.
That's interesting.
But since it's a movie for kids, it makes sense.
Yeah, they don't want
Right.
He could have just the actor could have just held it to where
he didn't have
needed to show her.
Yeah.
So
Sean, Horace, Eugene.
Why did they even whatever?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, it was a time no one thought they would pause it, you know. Sean, Horace, Eugene, and Frankie enter the mansion, and Horace wants to know if it's too late to become the Math Squad or the Nature Squad. Inside, Dracula's rigging up the dynamite to destroy the wall on the way to the amulet. Horace is ready to give it 5 seconds in the house, but Sean tells him that his dad's a cop, and they have Frankie on their side. When Frankie comes in, the dynamite goes off and a big collapse happens onto him. When Horace and Eugene go to help, Sean points out that there's no way they can lift it, and they're worried that he died.
Wait a minute.
Huh?
Frankie's dead, apparently dies, or so the kids think. But
yeah, they do.
Wasn't he already dead and reanimated?
Yeah, I know. But
So
they're kids. They're kids.
But I like how they have this relationship with him. Like, they're just, he's this gentle giant, as I put it.
Yeah, well, Sean says if he died for a good cause, and they can't stop here. They have to keep going. One of the most iconic moments, and then ones that my kids love too. The Wolfman shows up, Horace screams, but Sean tells him to kick him in the nards. Horace says he doesn't have nards, and Sean says, just do it. So Horace runs up and kicks the Wolfman right between his legs, and Horace is shocked when he goes down, and he says, Wolfman's got nards.
Surprisingly, it worked.
They run, but it's not long before they're stopped by Dracula, who he turns to see is blocking their path. They turn to see 3 Dracula's brides that are down the hallway, and then they're turned to see the Wolfman's there as well.
Lots of screaming. Those kids are screaming like crazy. I like that part about the scene.
And then Sean sees the statue starting to feel all over it. And Horace is like, what are you doing? He's like, haven't you read the Hardy Boys? And he pulls the lever, but instead of pushing the arm up, he pushes the arm down, which instead of moving the wall to open, sends a trapdoor that sends him down faster.
Oops.
We cut to Phil's restaurant, where Patrick, Rudy, and Lisa are waiting for the others who are late. Lisa mocks them and saying, maybe the monsters got him. And Rudy mocks her back, maybe the monsters got him. Sean gets up to see that they have landed right next to the amulet. He grabs it, and then Dracula grabs him. Horace thinks fast, pulls out a pizza from his bag, does a double take like, should I waste it on this? And then puts it on Dracula's face, and the garlic burns him.
That was great. Also, I like the Goonies-like moment.
Yeah.
Because there's a dead body in there with him, like Pirate Bill.
Yeah,
next
exactly.
To the amulet.
So they run outside, and with perfect timing, Leo is there. Phoebe shows up, having brought him in his 1961 Land Rover. Like, she realized in the middle of the night, hey, I know I should be asleep, but scary German guy, can you come?
It was the 80s.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Just...
Right. Parents didn't know where
we used to
You're right.
walk to 7-Eleven at like 2 in the morning.
We did. Just to buy the candy, man.
I was going to say, why didn't Dracula take that amulet and like hide it better? But...
Well, he found the amulet. I think it was like someone, Van Helsing tried to kill them, but failed. I think someone left in that group, got the amulet and hid it away from Dracula.
Oh, so Dracula
and he
didn't know
just
it was
found
there.
it.
Yeah, so he found it at the same time as the kids.
And he found it, right.
Yeah,
that's why he blew up the wall with dynamite.
Yeah.
And because Dracula would not have put crosses and garlic around it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
right.
It was like a Van Helsing trap or sort of
right
type thing.
So Rudy and Lisa also arrive, and she's on his bike, and Patrick is riding next to them. Horace tells them that they saw Dracula and he kicked Wolfman in the nards, but Sean tells him not now and asks Patrick if Lisa's a virgin. Lisa sarcastically asks Patrick, why don't you just put it on the 6 o'clock news, you little shit? Leo asks if they would all like to just go back to his place and have more pie, but then Sean pulls out the amulet as proof, so Leo knows it's all true and the monsters are after them. Sean says that they need to go to a place with a lot of people, and Patrick points out they should go to a church. Leo says there's a church at the town plaza. Sean says that's perfect because monsters hate religious stuff. We cut to Dell and Rich who are getting into the police car to check the mansion. Rich can't stop laughing at what they're doing, which is checking on a tip from a guy claiming to be a werewolf. Back at the squad, Leo's driving, and we see the mummy on the road. Leo swerves to miss him, but the mummy is able to grab the back of the vehicle. The mummy tries to grab Phoebe, and Rudy is asking Patrick to grab him some slack for the mummy's cloth. Patrick doesn't want to, but Pete, the dog, has no fear and gets a piece, gives it to Patrick, who hands it to Rudy. Rudy is able to tie it onto an arrow and shoots it onto a tree, and as they drive away, the mummy grabs Phoebe, but he's quickly unraveled, and we see that his skull and his ribs all hit the ground.
I thought that was cool. Rudy's awesome. He shot the arrow.
And the line he says is, see you later, Band-Aid breath. We cut to Rich, who's complaining about Dell is driving too fast. And when they soon come onto Dracula's hearse on the road, they both scream, but when the vehicle goes right through them, they spin the car around and stop. And Rich says, I'm not saying anything. Not a damn word.
So yeah, that was a weird scene because Yeah. I don't know why Dell's driving that fast either. He's going so fast. And then they just like go right through Dracula's car.
So Dracula pulls up to the house. Emily's inside. Instead of opening his back door like normal, he just rips the door off of the hearse. He then pulls out more dynamite, walks around the back, and has a perfect throw into the treehouse and says meeting adjourned and blows it up. And he thinks the kids are hiding in there. So he's trying to kill the kids. Dracula walks up front and Dell and Rich have pulled up. Dell jumps out pointing at Dracula and yelling freeze. Dracula's holding another stick of dynamite, lights it with the power of his mind, and throws it under the police car with Rich inside, even though it was Dell that was firing at him. So this explodes, killing Rich, who was the only black person in the film, and I thought it was ridiculous. He was the one not fighting the monsters and is killed. I thought that was ridiculous. Now with Rich dead, Dell fires 3 rounds into Dracula, who stands there and declares that he will have Dell's son. As Emily walks out, Dracula turns into a bat and flies away. Emily demands to know what's going on, but Dell runs in, calling the kids names. He finds a kid's radio, which must be great since it works halfway across town. Sean tells them
it's a small town.
Yeah, okay. Sean tells them that they're almost in town square and he needs to hurry up. Also in the background of the scene, you see that Emily has luggage on the floor. She's ready to leave.
Oh, I didn't see
She was
that.
about
she
to
was
leave.
so upset. But they're freaking out, and the kids kind of bring them back together, which happens in a lot of
directors say the monsters
rough
showed up in
relationships.
time to save the marriage.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. All right. The squad arrive at Town Hall, parking in front of the church, but it's locked. Sean says they will set up right there, and Horace says they might as well do it in front of Burger King. Phoebe then delivers the line that reminds me of Carol Ann from Poltergeist when she says, "You guys," and points out that Dracula's 3 brides are walking towards them and are also right in front of the Burger King.
Product placement.
Leo and Patrick are trying to encourage Lisa to read German, but they are pressuring her a lot, and she says that she's flunking German.
Oh, God. So she claimed that she was a virgin earlier.
Wait, we're
in
not
the
there
car.
yet. You gotta
But
get there.
hold on.
Yeah.
She did, and now she just not really putting much effort into this. She's not very good at it. She doesn't really want to read. They picked the wrong girl to do this.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. They went for the hottest one. All right. Overpressured, she tells Patrick to get Leo to read it, but he says he's not a virgin. She's like, "Did you ask him?" But I think this is good to point out that I never heard the book say that the virgin has to be a girl. All those boys are also virgins.
I was thinking about that too.
Right? Like,
yeah.
what the heck? All right.
I was thinking about that.
So Rudy, always the badass, starts walking towards the brides. Sean asks him what he's doing, and he's like, "I'm in the damn club, aren't I?" Lisa can't say the line that Leo's saying, and she goes, yeah, what he said. Rudy pulls out a stake and shoots it with the bow into the first bride, killing her. Another one comes up. He struggles to get the stake out in time, but he's able to stake her as well. We cut to Dracula flying in as a bat, but Dell shows up, shooting him, and send him flying into a nearby building. Now, we never see the third bride die, but we have to assume that Rudy killed her since we don't show her alive after this point.
I love how first it was the mummy, and now he's got these big wooden stakes, and he's just taking them out.
Sure. Dell goes into the building and sees Dracula's shot, and halfway through transforming back into humanoid form. Dell pulls out a stick of dynamite, lighting it, and doesn't see the Wolfman has come up behind him, and they start to fight. Sean shows up and says, "Hey, asshole." Then when the Wolfman turns around, he says, "Ha, you looked," and he hits him with a baseball bat. Dell sneaks the dynamite into the werewolf pants, and they push him out of the window, and he explodes, though it doesn't take long before we get the idea that this was not a permanent solution. Lisa is too upset to read, but they coach her into finishing. They all celebrate, and then they realize fast that it didn't work. We see the werewolf reform, run into the road. The cops pulling up to Rudy, who doesn't see the Wolfman is behind him. One of the 2 cops fire at the werewolf, but it doesn't work. But then the cops start to attack him.
So the girl's finally reading now, which was nice.
So, yeah. So she finishes, and then Leo asks Patrick, instead of asking her, "Are you sure she's a virgin?" Patrick asks her, and she shakes her head no. And he goes, "No, what do you mean no?" And she says, "Well, Steve, but he doesn't count."
So Steve's don't count?
Steve don't count?
What?
This is the real reason
cool.
I asked you to do this movie.
Oh, gosh.
Because Steve's don't count. Rudy then works to load a silver bullet into the gun. I don't understand why he didn't do this already. But as soon as both officers hit the ground, he says bang before pulling the trigger. Behind the scenes, the sound guy thought he messed up. He's like, he's not supposed to say bang. He's supposed to pull the trigger, and we add a bang later.
Yeah, didn't Uncle Red, was it? He put the bullet in early. He was ready to go.
Right.
And silver bullet.
Yeah,
But
right.
Here, they're just like... But, yeah, I think Rudy's doing great. So, no.
Yeah. But the director points out, no, if you read the script says Rudy says bang, then pulls the trigger. Like, he did it right. Like, then the humanoid werewolf transports back really fast. He looks at Rudy and says thank you as he dies. He turns to Dell and Sean, telling them, told you, only one way to kill a werewolf. That's when Gilman jumps out of a manhole next to Horace. The two officers start to jump on him. Eugene, with a last-minute idea, asks Leo if Phoebe is a Verten, because he doesn't know how to pronounce it. Because, honestly, he's probably too young to even know what it means. Patrick says that she can't read because she's 5, but Leo says he will help her. Horace fights to pull a shotgun out of a knocked-out cop and tries to get into a store with EJ and Derek, who are too scared to let him in. These are the two bullies from earlier. Horace pulls the trigger, killing Gilman. Then EJ and Derek come out of the store. EJ says, hey, fat kid, good job. Horace pumps a shotgun and tells them, my name is Horace.
Oh, that was a good line.
Right? like, oh, crap. I'm going to call you Horace from now on. Leo's instructing Phoebe when Dracula shows up, and Patrick and Lisa run away to hide. Phoebe is scared, but Leo tells her not to look up and just focus on repeating what he's saying. More cops try to stop Dracula, but he knocks them out with ease. He comes up on them, and Leo stands in his way. With a blast of light, Dracula sends her to the ground. He walks up to Phoebe, who's holding the crystal, which is when her mother shows up screaming. Dracula tells a 5-year-old to give me the amulet, you bitch, and picks her up by the chin. That's when Frankie shows up.
So I was going to say that the parents are behaving strangely here.
Sure.
Because, yeah, the mom shows up and screams, but then she runs backwards away from Phoebe. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that. That makes sense,
But
yeah.
she's going to Dale, which means I guess their marriage is saved. Like, she's looking for comfort from him. But
maybe.
At the same time, it's like, if I know myself or my wife as parents, we would probably run
to their
child.
Right. I'm willing to die for my kid, yeah.
But I thought that
at
was
least
odd.
2 of them. I'm just kidding.
Just 2.
That's when Frankie shows up, grabbing Dracula, saying bogus, and throwing him onto a metal spike on the fence. Leo quickly rushes to help Phoebe finish the German, and the portal opens. Luckily, Leo throws the amulet far first, so this time no one's sucked in. It's not supposed to be.
That was smart.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone there fights to hold on to something, and Sean is fighting Dracula, trying to stake him as they're pulled towards limbo. Sean is able to stab him in the chest, and at that moment he jumps off. Abraham Van Helsing is there to grab Dracula and pull him into limbo. Frankie crawls over to Phoebe to say goodbye, and he's pulled into limbo, and she cries for him not to go away. The portal closes, and everyone is relieved.
But there's a part there that I really liked.
Yeah.
You know, it was really sad to see Frankie part from Phoebe, but she gave him Scraps, the stuffed animal.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
thought that was a really cool part
That
where,
is cool.
you know, earlier in the movie, she's like, this is Scraps, and gave it. And it goes along with Frankenstein's monster because he's made from scraps, parts of humans.
Yeah,
and
that's good.
And I like that part.
Yeah, they wanted to sell scraps as a marketable item, but I don't think the movie did well enough to put out toys. Or, you know, like a stuffed animal. So that's when a tank rolls up, followed by many army men on foot. 2 jeeps show up as well. The guy in charge jumps out and asks for Eugene. He walks up and he says, all right, son, where are the monsters?
This
and he
is
replies,
so, what?
Mummy came in my house. Then smiles and walks away.
What? So wait, the army comes
After
to
the
the town
fact.
based on a mailed note written in crayon.
That makes total
with
sense.
a tank to this little town. Yeah, like
They
what in
must
Sam Hill's going on?
Well, we might as well. We want Burger King anyway. Might as well stop by this town. They have a Burger King. He asks if anyone could tell him what the hell is going on here, and Sean comes over and says, "We can't, sir." He asks who they are, and Sean hands him a business card telling him, "We're the Monster Squad." That's when music gets all badass, singing about the plot of the movie, and I really do enjoy this.
I like the cool 80s soundtrack. Yeah.
So, in the commentary, they say that Dustin Diamond, who plays Screech in Saved by the Bell, had a scene, but it wasn't working, so they removed it. When Sean is on the roof watching The woman screaming is the girlfriend of the director at the time. In the background of the shot where Detective Sapri is killed, that's his partner, right? The building featured in the back is from the movie The Omega Man, where the main character stayed. Also in the scene, Dell enters the house. You can see Emily's bags are packed. She was leaving her husband, and there was a scene that was cut where we watched her bringing those bags down from upstairs. After Rudy puts his arm on Lisa, there was a scene there that, according to Ryan Lambert, proved that Rudy got the girl, but it was cut. And I watched the deleted scene. He put his arm on her shoulder, and she doesn't take it off, and they walk together with his arm on her shoulder. So Rudy believes, or the actor that plays Rudy believes, that means he got the girl.
Yeah.
But they cut it.
So she kind of looked at him weird when she looked down. I thought it was like an awkward, like, hey, don't touch me kind of look, but I guess not. Interesting.
There's a deleted scene where Emily is telling Phoebe to go watch her show, and she says she can't watch it anymore because there's too much sex. Emily tells her to go watch it anyway, and when Phoebe leaves the room, Emily mumbles to no one, really, that this house could use a little more sex. Which doesn't really fit in a kid's movie.
What?
There's a scene where Sean sneaks into his dad's room, pulls out his gun from his holster, and replaces the 6 bullets inside with silver bullets, so his dad would have already been armed with them without knowing it. But they cut that too. Yeah. Did you like it? I know you saw it as an adult, not as a kid.
Yeah, so I think if I watched this as a kid,
I
would have thought it was a great movie.
Okay.
Since I watched it as an adult, I thought it was a bit choppy.
Okay.
The movie felt very choppy with the scene cuts to Dracula, away from Dracula. And these are like really short scenes, like less than 2 minutes, a minute, half a minute scenes, and then would go to the family or the kids, and then back and forth and back and forth. And it felt very choppy. The cultural blending parts felt a little bit weird to me also. Yeah. And I was wondering where the parents were too. Like, oh, yeah, that's right. It's the 1980s. They weren't. It was normal.
No one else's parents were around. Yeah.
But the science was kind of, But it's a movie about fictitious monsters. None of the science is supposed to make sense.
Yeah, it's
But
fun.
like the airplane scene and the reviving with the lightning bolt and some of the like getting sucked into the limbo void, I felt like the director probably could have done that better, because they're kind of just like holding on but not really moving, or like not even holding on but acting, I felt like they could have done that scene better where people were kind of sucked towards that void.
Sure, I get what you're saying.
But other than that, I did like that one scene where Leo, as you call him, the scary German guy, says that, now that you mention it, I suppose I do, about monsters, and you have the tattoo. I thought that was a really great scene.
Yeah, that's good. I also love the montage, and the music was fun. Like, I like these kids do everything. It kind of reminds me of Iron Eagle. Did you watch Iron Eagle?
I haven't.
Okay, so that's a good one also. A bunch of kids who work for the military. The main kid's father is a prisoner of war, and the kids who have access to all the stuff because all their parents are in the military use their innocence as kids to sneak around and steal enough fuel and missiles and a plane to launch a mission to go in and rescue the guy's father. And it's so fun and good. It's obviously a cheesy action movie, but they made like 6 of them, and it's a lot of fun.
And by montage, you meant like all the monsters?
No, I mean where Rudy's making the steaks, and then they're making the business cards. They're mailing letters to the military. Phoebe's playing dress up. All those scenes. That's a fun scene.
I like the montage of the monsters.
Sure.
The mansion and the, just having them all there. Count Dracula and werewolves interactions, and Gilman was there. Like, that's interesting.
He might have been the most useless one. At least Frankie fought for good.
Yeah.
Gilman stood there and died.
Yeah. Which one was your favorite monster?
I mean, I think it has to be Frankie.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's changed. I think
it's always been Frankie.
It was always comical. I felt really bad for the Wolfman human. Like, there's emotion there. I thought it was good. I think Dracula was a good actor. I think he played a great role as Dracula. So I think that was fun. Well, thank you for being here, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a lot of fun. This is Nightmare Echoes. We have new episodes every Monday. Hope you get to listen to us again. Please leave a 5-star review on your podcast app of choice. Bye.
Bye.